Hi everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some books that by the time you're watching this are not going to be recent reads of mine, but by the time I'm filming this are recent reads, so it's a good time to film this video. Before I get into that though, I want to do a shameless plug for the jewelry store of my friend. The earrings I'm wearing right now are from her store. I will link it down below in the description so you can check out her stuff because I love her. So yeah, here's a much nicer close-up because obviously I have to do that. But anyway, this video is basically about the books that I started off 2021 with. So first of all, I read volumes 7, 8, and 9 of The Girl from the Other Side by Nagabe. This is a manga series that I started in 2019, abandoned in 2020 for no reason, and decided that I had to keep up with in the beginning of 2021. I kind of wanted to start 2021 by tackling those series that I definitely and sincerely left in the dust in 2020 for no reason, because when I tell you it's for no reason, I mean it. I enjoyed this series when I started it in 2019, so there's no reason why I didn't keep up with it in 2020, but I just didn't. So we're gonna talk about it now. So in this series, we follow this little girl who lives in a world that is divided. On the outside, there are the outsiders, who are these dark creatures that have this contagious disease that turns them into monsters. And we have the people on the inside who are not diseased, are not contagious, and are trying very hard to avoid these contagious people on the outside. But we follow her as she starts making a friendship with one of these monsters, and we start learning a little bit more about how these monsters came to be and learning about whether or not there is a way to stop this disease from spreading. So all in all, I'm really happy I went back to this series. Like I said earlier, I abandoned it not because I didn't like it, but because I'm me. So I was really happy to get back into this world, though I have to say that when I picked up volume 7, I was kind of just trying to remember everything that had happened, where we were, why we were, and all of that. But one of the benefits of volume 7 is that it's actually one of the more action-packed volumes in this series. For the most part, this series is pretty chill, pretty low stakes. Well, not low stakes, just with a very soft and steady pace is what I'm trying to get at. Because we do have moments of more violence and more disturbing content, I guess, though not super deeply disturbing. There's just mostly just violence sometimes. So this volume in particular, volume 7, had more of that action. So it kind of helped me get back into this world because I was in this high stakes moment and it immediately made me want to continue learning what was going on in this story. So volume 7, I gave it 4 stars. Solid volume. Really enjoyed it. Volume 8 is the one that broke my heart to pieces. It changed the game for the series, honestly. It felt like the end of an arc, which made it very bittersweet. The series is still obviously not over, but something that happened in this volume makes it feel like the end of something. So this volume gave it 4 stars because it was very good, very emotional, very heartbreaking. Visually, it was so beautiful. It was just a very good volume. The 9th volume, I also gave it 4 stars. Basically, I gave 4 stars to all the volumes I read in January because they were just very strong volumes in the series. The beginning of the series can be a bit rocky, can be a bit too meandering for people and a little bit too confusing, but I think now that the world has been very solidly established, the volumes can just shine on their own with whatever the author decides to focus on. So that's why I think volumes 7, 8, and 9 are so strong. And in this one, we got to see a side of the main character we haven't seen before. She really shows anger in this volume and frustration, and that was so nice to see. Such a good change of pace pace for how Shiva is her name is often portrayed in the series, so I really like that. And then the ending just hooks you. This volume ends on, I guess we could call it a cliffhanger, but it's almost incomprehensible because it's a very strange ending, very ambiguous, which obviously leaves you like, I need the next volume to understand what the hell just happened in the end of this volume. So very, very good. Very happy I got back into the series, and I obviously am anxiously waiting for the release of the next volumes. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is actually a novella, kind of more of a short story than novella if I'm being honest, but either way, it's Her Night with Santa by Adriana Herrera. In this novella, we follow, what did she do? What was her job? I'm not entirely sure, but one of our main characters is the niece of one of the three kings. Three Kings Day. If you know, you know. So he's one of those kings. So okay, I just remembered. Our main character has been working very hard to launch her adult toy business, and so she kind of needs a break. And so her uncle tells her, hey, go to this house. It will be super decked out. You'll have everything you need to relax. So just enjoy for a day or two, I think it is. And so she goes to this house, and when she's been there for a couple of hours, this woman shows up and is like, what the fuck are you doing in my house? And so this woman, of course, is Santa. She's a female Santa. The first time I think Santa has been a woman. I don't know, but I think it's the first lesbian Santa. And so it's basically just about them having a short, steamy romance. So I rated this 3.5 stars. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's pretty short. It's more of like a short story than a novella, and my summary probably gave way too much away, but I wasn't sure how else to explain it, apart from the fact that I was remembering what it was about as I was explaining it. So anyway, I really enjoyed this. It definitely delivered in what it was trying to do. It was just trying to be a steamy Christmas romance, and it really did that. It 100% delivered on that. It was a good time. It wasn't the best time. I would have needed more pages to fully be interested in the characters and invested in them to give this anything higher than 3.5 stars. But for what it was fun, and I would recommend it when Christmas comes around again. The last book I'm going to be talking about, which I think will hopefully make this video short and sweet, which is unusual for me, is Damaged Goods by Talia Hibbert. This is a novella in one of Talia Hibbert's series. Again, I read an installment in a series that I have not read from the beginning, but I mostly did that because I think she had it for free or for $1. It was something very cheap, and I love Talia Hibbert, as has been established on this channel. If you've been here for a while, you probably already know. I love Talia Hibbert, so I was like, I need a shot of Talia Hibbert. Also, if you keep hearing that in the background, it's my laptop. I keep touching it because that's where I have my notes and where I'm looking at my reviews from, and my hands just like being busy, I guess, sometimes. Anyway, that's not what we're here for, and that just adds time to this video. So in this novella, we follow this woman who has just left her abusive husband. She has returned home to her, well, I don't actually know if it's her small town she grew up in or just kind of like the beach house. Her parents had one of those options. So she returns to the seaside town, and she is pregnant and trying to keep herself and her baby away from her husband because they haven't officially gotten divorced yet. She has simply left him. So in this town, she reconnects with her teenage beau, I guess. I don't know the proper terms here, but she reconnects with this guy that she really liked when she was a teenager, and they were kind of together when they were teenagers. And so in this, we follow them falling in love and actually getting together in a more serious way. So because this is Talia Hibbert and I'm incapable of giving her anything less than 4 stars, I gave this a 4-star. I really enjoyed it. I have this thing where I really like following characters that have children or are about to have children, which is bizarre considering I don't want that for myself. But I love this a lot because we're following this interesting dynamic where we have this woman who is already pregnant and is falling in love with a guy. And that's not the kind of story you get all that often. Usually you get them either before, so it's about them falling in love and they'll eventually make their family, or after the child has already been born, is however age, whatever age. You can sometimes get those moments where you have bonding scenes between the love interest and the child. So, which I also, again, I love it. I live for that shit. So this was bound to be a good time for me because I just like that trope. I like following pregnant women or having a main character that already has a child or a love interest that has a child, because I live for scenes where we see the characters bonding with the child. I don't know, I just like it. So going back, let's see. So yeah, as always, what I love about Talia Hibbert is how complex her characters are. We have Laura that, as I have just said, has just left her abusive husband, and she naturally has a lot of trauma from this relationship. The novella can be quite triggering because she does have various scenes where characters do or say certain things that trigger her and make her fear for her life because of the abuse she was subjected to. So seeing her journey of opening up to Samir, the love interest, despite the very recent trauma of her relationship, was very, very beautiful and very sincere. Even though the pacing of this book is quite fast, I still felt like the progression of it was strong and well done. And then Samir, on the other hand, also has his own issues. He had, I don't know if I would label his parents as abusive, I think so, but he had a very fraught childhood. And despite that, he is so committed to Laura. He does have his reservations where he's like, no, we're just friends. I'm just doing this because I care about her and I want her to feel supported. But ultimately, he goes relatively fast from being like, no, this isn't romance, to being like, I love Laura and I'm committed to her and I want to take care of her and make sure she's safe. And again, another trope that I really like is soft male characters who just genuinely love the protagonist or the heroine or just their love interest. I just love seeing that genuine love and affection. It's just, it gets right in my heart. Right in my heart. So yeah, primarily the reason this got 4 stars instead of 5 stars is because not all plot points here were resolved. There were a few loose ends that I wasn't a huge fan of. And again, we had this whole epilogue scene that was very, very, very cheesy, with Laura and Samir married and with their kids, and it was a bit much. It was a bit much. So I couldn't deny that, and I also couldn't deny that Samir did need a little bit more development. He was a little bit flat. To me, it compensated that he was so genuine and sweet. That made up for the fact that he kind of needed a little bit more. I felt like with a little more page time focused on him, he might have felt a little bit more rounded out. But in general, yeah, this was just missing a little bit to be a 5-star. But as always, Talia Hibbert delivers with the humor, with the romance. I still found this a very believable romance with interesting characters, and I'm very happy I picked it up. And as I always say when I talk about Talia Hibbert, I will continue reading her books because she just knows the kind of romance I'm looking for. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, I will have the links to that down below in the description. But for now, see you next time.